Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's really, really nice to be here with you today. And so Graham mentioned my plenary at TEFL earlier this year. And I will be picking up on some things I mentioned that day, but I will be, kind of going deeper because I will only be focusing on climate change. So there's a lot more to say than I had time in Brighton. So let's get on with it. I focus this presentation on 3 questions that I have. So the first question is, how bad is the environmental damage that AI is causing? What work is being done to counteract it? And the second half of the presentation will be on what can we do about it as individuals. So let's see if we can go through all of that. There's going to be a lot of data in this at the beginning, so bear with me. So before we go into the environmental impact itself, I want to do a very brief introduction to what is AI and how it works. So let's do it. Right. Artificial intelligence is an umbrella term that encompasses other terms such as machine learning, deep learning within machine learning, and generative AI within deep learning. So let's have a look at what that means. Artificial intelligence has been, around since the 60s, machine learning and deep learning, but generative AI is quite new. So let's have a look at that. Machine learning is a data-driven approach that involves training algorithms using large data sets, which are labeled. This is very important. So what they do is they learn and they adapt. Some examples of machine learning are product recommendations, either on social media or streaming services, like what should you watch next, what should you read next, spam email filtering, and algorithmic trading. Now, deep learning can process unstructured data. So we went from labeled data sets to unstructured data sets. And so we don't need predefined formats or labels. These days, in healthcare, for example, deep learning is used to develop predictive models for disease diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment. But other examples are facial recognition, speech recognition, self-driving cars, though I'm not very sure I would like to do that, virtual assistants, and automatic machine translation. Then we get to generative AI. And so what is it? Let's have a look at a definition. This is one of many definitions available. And it refers to a set of deep learning techniques used to generate new, previously unseen artifacts, such as images, videos, or texts. Now, the question is, how does generative AI do that? It uncovers and it analyzes the data, and it uncovers the underlying grammar within the data sets by recognizing objective patterns. I think this is really important, objective patterns, and works out the frequencies within these patterns. It then mimics the language to create something new, though derived from the data sets. So we'll go back to this idea of being data-driven, which is really important. When we talk about generative AI, chatbots like OpenAI GPT or Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini, we are talking about tools that are based on LLMs or large language models, which are capable of working with and generating language. And these LLMs have been fed huge amounts of data. They have analyzed it, and they have come up with statistical correlations to articulate these interactions. So basically, Gen AI does not really know or understand things. They are doing advanced mathematical calculations. And when it does not know, it hallucinates, it invents, it fills in the gaps. There is a recent study I read only today that shows that ChatGPT is precise for about 50% of the, the output, and there's about 40% hallucination. So that's quite a high percentage of hallucination and data that's not very precise. So I think we should be really, really aware of that. So how does it work? We said it's data-driven. We said it's data-driven. So it's as good as the data it has been fed with. And I could stay just 1 hour talking about data sets and where they come from and who decides what they feed into it. And that's a whole other topic, but it's very, very important. It's creative because it creates something new each time. And I know this is a bit controversial. Some people just argue that it merely regurgitates what it has learned. But the fact that the results are different each time we prompt it might help to back up this creativity claim. And improve over time. And this is related to continuous retraining done by the owners and also by people who use AI, continually feeding new data into the sets. This raises lots of questions about data privacy. But again, I won't have time today to go into that. That's a whole different topic. The last feature of generative AI is that it's versatile in that it can carry out a wide variety of tasks, as you may have seen, from creating lesson plans, creating exercises, creating images, videos, voice cloning, lots going on and lots of new things coming as we speak. But so now we understand a little bit how it works. We need to have a look at some data, and this is the heavy part. And we are only going to look at data related to climate change and to the environmental impact of AI. Now, the carbon footprint of Gen AI training and prompting is considerable, both in terms of electricity and water resources needed to run and cool the data center servers. So let's have a look at this. There are other things that come in. I have thought of some questions to kind of divide the data into smaller parts, okay? So the first is, how much power does it consume? So let's look at electricity and power in general. So the thing is, many people have asked me, you can of course read the data, but people have asked me, okay, how does this compare to other technologies? Because how do we compare it with Google searching or with other technologies? And I'm going to give some data later about that. But generative AI energy requirements are more significant than other types of intelligent technologies and other type of technologies in general. And that's why we need to look at this. Now, the main focus of generative AI providers is to increase performance and accuracy. driving accuracy in artificial intelligence models means that they need to increase the parameters. The parameters are the size of the data that is being used to feed a model, and therefore increase the accuracy of the results. And so when they increase the parameters or the size of the models, that means that they will need more time and more energy to do that. So if we want more accuracy, we will need to use more electricity. There's no way around that. And when we talk about generating images is even more energy intensive than generating text. And generating images and, of course, generating videos is very energy intensive. So let's leave that there, and I'll come back. So what about CO2 emissions for ChatGPT queries? And there are lots of other models, but you know, ChatGPT being the most popular, I think we need to look at that. You know, we've been hearing about the carbon footprint of the aviation industry, and how we need to fly less, and then what can we do to reduce our carbon footprint. Well, this is even worse. The whole energy consumed by world's data centers for AI is 2.5 to 3.7 of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And that's more than the aviation industry. So that's a lot. It's estimated that training a large artificial intelligence model can result in 300 tons of carbon dioxide. If we look at ChatGPT in particular, creating ChatGPT produced 552 tons of carbon dioxide. And the comparison is 123 gas-powered cars for a year. Google estimates that the cost per year of using ChatGPT 3 is 8.4 tons of carbon dioxide per year. If we compared a Google search, like Google has 9 billion searches per day. If they were generative AI chatbot queries, we would need as much power as Ireland needs for a day. And that's a lot. Now, the equivalent of each query is estimated at 4.32 grams of carbon dioxide. So each time you query a chatbot. And if we compare it to a Google search, which is something I was asked when I was at TEFL, and I didn't know, so I got data. If we compare it to a Google search, the Google search is 0.2 per query. So that is dramatically higher to use Gen AI than Google searching, okay? So let's keep that in mind, because I'll go back again. I'll get back to this at the end. So according to that, to the maths, 16 queries is equivalent to the emissions generated by boiling a kettle. And if each unique visit results in an average of 10 queries, that's 15 trillion queries per month. And this is not going to slow down. On the contrary, this is probably going to increase as we move on. So we did electricity and we did the carbon footprints. Let's look at water footprint of AI. You know, why is water important? Because data centers, servers rooms, where all the machines are there, the machines necessary to run AI, need to be kept cool between 10 to 27 degrees Celsius. This is to prevent equipment malfunctioning. But data centers must also use clean, fresh water. They cannot use salty water. They cannot use used water. It has to be fresh water. This is because we still haven't found a way to use salt water, which causes corrosion and bacteria growth in the equipment. So fresh water is needed to cool the servers and also to control humidity in those rooms. And we must say that the global water consumption needed to cool all these generative AI headquarters is definitely at odds with a much agreed sustainability stance these days. So I showed this picture at TEFL. I wanted to show it again. This is one of Google's data centers in Oregon, United States. And what you can see are 4 very evident columns of steam coming out of the 4 cooling towers needed to cool down the servers in this room. I think the image is quite shocking, and that's why I chose to show it. Because I tried to picture this, and until I saw an image of it, it was not as dramatic as seeing the image. Microsoft global water consumption spiked 34%, and we're only speaking about 2 years ago. So it's probably more these days, and this is more than 2,500 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That's a lot of water. GPT training can use as much water as producing 370 BMWs or 320 Teslas. And we are talking about ChatGPT-3, and we are already, OpenAI is already using ChatGPT-4, which is larger in size, and so likely to consume much more water and electricity. So whenever you hear, and I've heard this over and over again, and I keep hearing it, oh, don't worry if you don't get a precise result, you can refine your prompt and try again until you get what you need. And whenever I hear that, I kind of cringe. I go like, and how much water are we wasting by doing that? So I have some strategies that I will share with you towards the end of the presentation today. So half a liter of water for a set of 5 to 50 prompts or questions. That's a very evident measure, yeah. And this is a question I didn't raise during my plenary at TEFL, but of course, I didn't have time for it. But the issue of e-waste is quite something we need to look at too. Because the technology used for generative AI requires more hardware than other types of computing. And that means that it cycles through the hardware faster. And so the replacement cycle is more intensive than other types of computing. And therefore, there is more e-waste as a byproduct of generative AI. And I think this is something that we haven't been looking at closely enough. So that's another thing to look at. Okay. Now, this section of data is particularly interesting as it is information I have recently found, and I was really surprised, so I want to share it with you. What happens if we compare human writing with AI writing, and we compare how much energy, water, everything is used. Yeah, how energy intensive is each of these activities. And so I'm going to share a chart. And so if you look at the bottom part of the chart, Bloom and ChatGPT are AI tools. And the rest is human writing without using AI. And the higher the bar, the more carbon footprint, the more intensive the carbon footprint is. So I was surprised to see that a human writing one page will produce a higher carbon footprint than ChatGPT writing one page. And that is probably because of the amount of time it would take a human to write one page and the amount of time ChatGPT needs to write it. I'm only looking at the data related to the carbon footprint. I am not looking at the quality of an AI written page and a human written page. That would be a different discussion to be had, and I'm probably going to go with human writing instead of AI writing. But I think we need to look at this, because this was really surprising for me that we humans would use more energy to write one page than ChatGPT. So let's bear this in mind. Just one more, more data have with us. And then I also found the comparison of human image creation and AI image creation. And this is the chart. And again, if you look at the first two are generative AI tools. So we have Midjourney and DALL-E, and the others are humans creating an image. And again, human creating an image has a higher carbon footprint than Midjourney or DALL-E. Again, what about the quality of the image? That's a different issue to be discussed. We're just talking about the carbon footprint here, okay? So I was really surprised to see this data, because I hadn't really seen it before. So let's have a look at what happens when we use a generative AI tool to do some work teachers might want to do. And let's see if it's if the result is a quality result or not. There is a tool called TWE. TWE is a tool for teachers, and it allows you to create different things that a teacher might need. So it allows you to create a text, and then it allows you to create a vocabulary list or a list of questions, or multiple choice, or true or false. It allows you to feed a video link, and it will create questions or a script for that video. It's a very interesting tool, yes, but let's look at the quality of the results. So the good thing is that when you prompt, you are guided to prompt. So it's not like prompting ChatGPT, in which if you don't have a lot of experience, you will end up prompting over and over again until you get the result you want. In this case, you have kind of a guide, yes? For vocabulary, you just put in the topic, and you can filter it by type of part of speech. For other tools, you can select the language level. And so the tool will guide you to prompt correctly so that you get a more precise result. So of course, as I was doing climate action, I gave it as a topic, climate action and AI, and this is the list of words it brought back. So there you have. Okay, it looks good, and of course, what we would need to look at is, okay, what level is this list for, and would it be good for any level? Would it be good for an A1, A2 level class? So there is no way we can add the level in this prompt. So we would have to manually select which words are good for our level or remove the ones that are not. So it's a good initial result. Yes, I think so. And then we will need to work with it to make it fit our classes. Let's have a look at another. I went to ChatGPT. So I'm going to show you different tools so that we see different things. And I said, okay, create a 200-word informative article about AI and climate change for intermediate learners of English. And let me see if I can open the link and we can see it. Well, I think it's not working. So it gave me a lovely 200-word article, and it only spoke about positive stuff. And I said, well, okay, I am aware that that is not the whole truth. I didn't prompt it correctly, so maybe it was my fault that it didn't bring up the issues around AI and climate change. So it only talked about how AI can benefit climate change. So I prompted it again and I said, okay, sorry, can you also mention the challenges that AI poses for the environment? And only then it gave me like a very short 50-100 paragraph about the challenges. So still the balance between the good and the bad was not very good in my perspective. It still gave me a lot on the benefits and very little on the challenges. So should we trust? Now, another tool that has been around and is quite interested is called Mizzou. Mizzou, you need to register for Mizzou. It has a free version and a premium version that you have to pay for. The free version works really fine. And what you have in Mizzou is pre-made chatbots on different topics so that you can use them in your classroom or your learners can use them to practice English. So I found this, and this was not for learners, it was for teachers. And it was called AI in Education Quiz. And so you just log in and it will ask you questions. And of course you answer and it will give you the feedback. Okay, so it's a nice little thing to try if you want to see what Mizzou can do. You can use any of the pre-made chatbots to practice talking about holidays or role play an interview, and you can create your own chatbots on very specific topics. So it's a very interesting tool. It has worked around privacy issues because it works within a closed interface. So it's not whatever information you put in is not retraining other AI models continuously. So your information seems to be safe. Okay. Right. Just, 3 tools that I tried and I wanted to show you today. But this is what I really want to focus on now. And I want to see, okay, can AI be greener? And I did some research, and the initial things that I found, I put on this slide. Let's have a look at them, and then I will continue with more stuff. So yes, if we optimize algorithms, right? Yes, if we use sustainable energy sources. Yes, if we recycle and reuse e-waste. Yes, if we improve cooling of the data centers. Yes, if we apply AI to conservation. And I said, all of this is great, but is it in my hands? Is it something I can do as an individual? And very importantly, the answer is no. This is something that is in the hands of the people who are in charge of generative AI products. So it was very disappointing in a sense, because I said, and then, so what can we do? What can I as an individual do? And so I put together some strategies of things that we as individuals can do to counteract the environmental impact of generative AI. I think that the word that will encompass most of what I'm going to say now is AI literacy. We need to learn about AI in order to know how we can use AI in a better way and counteract the environmental impact. So let's have a look at very simple things. We need to be aware of the issues. If we don't know that AI is using a lot of energy and a lot of water and producing more e-waste, then of course we won't be worried about using AI because we don't know about these problems. So raising awareness of the issues. The second is, I see people prompting AI for ridiculous things. Like, what are the 10 best things to do in Paris? Why would you need to go to the ChatGPT for that? You can Google search that. And we saw the comparison of the carbon footprint of a Google search against a generative AI chatbot search. So why would we go to ChatGPT for every single thing these days? I see people prompting AI for really ridiculous stuff. So we need to start spreading the word that we need to keep doing web searching instead of AI prompting, if a web search can return what we need. The second is, we need to choose the right AI tool. And there are tools that consume more water and more energy than others. So we need to become aware. I don't have time now to go, yes, but I'll be happy to create a sort of chart to help us see that difference. But we need to be aware that not all AI tools are as energy intensive as others, and have the right to choose the one that does the less damage. We also need to learn to prompt and to refine prompts, but we need to do that before prompting. What I mean is, we need to know what a good prompt is, what information we need to put in there, so that we don't need to re-prompt on the tool. Refine the prompt before prompting and go on to AI only when you think you have the best prompt. Of course, this takes learning. Yes, we need to learn how to do this. One last thing is, we should have effective prompt banks. And I'm really, really looking forward to doing that. And I've been searching online, and there are some PDFs of people suggesting prompts. The link below is a link to the University of Sheffield. They have an academic prompt bank that helps you to write a good prompt and to choose a prompt. And I haven't found what I would love to see, which is a prompt bank specific to ELT. And so what I've done and what I'm trying to do is, if there isn't one, why not create one? And so I have taken it upon myself to see if I can create a prompt bank for ELT. And I have created a Facebook page, a Facebook group really, that you need to join, and where we would eventually be sharing effective prompts that I will then be transferring to a more professional, web page, where I hope to be able to share effective prompts so that people don't prompt and reprompt on the tool. And this is it. This is the cover, ELT AI Prompt Bank. That's the link. If you would like to be part of it, I tell you it's empty at the moment because I have just created, as I was, thinking over and over again about how to go about this, and say, I cannot find what I want, I will create it myself. So I'll be happy if you want to join me, and we'll try to make this work. Again, what can we do about it? Another set of strategies. We can choose companies that use renewable energy. We can choose existing models and not new models, because new models means that creating a new model and training a new model is very energy intensive. So use something that already exists is a good strategy. Avoid overtraining AI models. Sometimes overtraining is unnecessary. And use energy conserving computational methods. So again, using energy efficient computers, and that's as much as we can do as individuals. So I don't know. What do you think? Now it's time for questions.